Now, these 911 calls, were you cutting wrestling promos on?
Oh man, Kurt, I swear to God, I think it was like the last week that I was there. I had already put in my 2 weeks notice. I knew I was not going to be at WWE, or I was not going to be at 911 anymore. I was going to WWE. And we used to have, we would call them frequent flyers, people that would call 911 for any reason all night long. My neighbor's trash cans in my front yard. Well, what do you want the cops to do about that? And this woman called one, I want to say it was like the late afternoon, and I think her neighbor's dog was barking or something. And I said, ma'am, it's 7 p.m. I don't really know what you want us to do. It's a dog, it's barking. It's and she started, she had a few choice words for me. And that was when wrestler brain kicked in. And I will never forget it. She said, are you guys all on drugs over there? And I said, yes, ma'am, we are all on drugs right now running the 911 center. And she hung up on me. And about 30 seconds later, my supervisor came over and said, did I just hear you tell somebody who called 911 that we're all on drugs? I said, yeah, but she was being I said, we should probably not do that anymore. And I don't know, that might have got me canned had I not been leaving anyway, but
I was going to say, right on a recorded line.
Yeah,
I
like I said, wrestling brain. I bit my tongue for like 2 years, and finally I saw daylight.
Yeah,
like, what? Here we
go. Let loose.
That's it.
And I was going to ask you, did you ever think about giving up on wrestling? But you kind of walked us through that. And man, aren't you glad, that you didn't? Especially when you talk about that moment with the phone call.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable to look back. And again, I was sort of at peace at the time that I went, you know what? I'm 27 years old. I've got a life ahead of me. I've got a young family. Things aren't so bad. I've got a good job. I have a career if I need it. I'm okay. And didn't see that coming, but I'm glad it did.
Where did the name Corey Graves come from? Funny
enough, when we used to get signed to FCW, the standard protocol was, unless you had a big name from outside of WWE, which very few people did, you would have to submit lists of names that would be approved, and you could be that character's name. And I remember having a really hard time with a first name because there was just nothing that came to mind that I felt fit. And I submitted the last names Ness and Graves. And Ness was from Mike Ness from Social Distortion, and Graves was the singer of the Misfits at the time. And I thought, okay, I'll borrow one of their names, much like Seth Rollins, he borrowed that last name.
Yeah.
And Corey, ironically enough, came from Bray Wyatt at practice one day. And he was singing Sunglasses at Night by Corey Hart, the 80s.
I wear my sunglasses at night.
Yeah, so I can. Yeah, and I don't know why that song was being discussed. I'm sure there was a reason at the time. But he goes, there's your name. He goes, you're Corey Graves. And I personally, I hated it. But I didn't submit anything different in time. And one of the guys that worked in the office was like, well, the office approved Corey Graves. And I said, all right, well, I guess I'm Corey Graves. So here I am.